This is Radio Sheridan. From the historic Rogers Park neighborhood in Chicago, Illinois, this is the show about whatever the hell we feel like. On the panel for this inaugural edition, we have
Julian Newman
and
Charles Pigozzi.
And yours truly, William Bermudez. Today has been a very interesting day for us as we've been setting all this up for our very first edition. We did do a test broadcast a couple weeks ago, but this has
which
been...
you can find online. It's YouTube.
Yes, on our YouTube channel we do have episode 0. That is our test broadcast. It was, I believe, taped on the 20th of September.
It only has 3 views.
That is correct. So get on that. Today, incidentally, is October 13th, 2018. It is a Saturday, currently 3:07 p.m., but this is a pre-recorded episode. However, we will be doing live editions in the future. This week has been a very interesting week. As a matter of fact, interesting 2 weeks. Not only in Chicago, where we are based, but statewide, nationally, and internationally as well. Those of you who are local to Chicago may be aware of some recent murders that occurred in Rogers Park, which incidentally is where we were doing the show, and one of the murders happened very close by to where we are currently. Yeah. One of them was of an elderly man. I believe he was 73 years old. His name was Douglas Watts. He was killed on the... these both happened in sort of the northeastern part of Rogers Park, and the first one, I believe, happened, it was on a Sunday. I believe they both happened on a Sunday. As a matter of fact, within a very short...
it's like within 36 hours or something like that.
That is correct. One of them...
It was in broad daylight, wasn't it?
The first one was. The first one happened at about 10 in the morning on Sunday. He was killed while walking his dog. He was actually, as far as I understand, he was killed execution style, as in he was shot in the back of the head. And that happened, and then another victim was killed... Another victim was killed in Loyola Park, which is it's near Loyola University, just a little bit north of that, actually. And he was killed, it was, I believe, a 24-year-old gentleman.
Yeah.
From what I understand, a former graduate of Evanston Township High School, that's what I've heard, incidentally, which is where the three of us are all from. He was killed in a similar manner. There were security cameras. There was security camera footage of the first shooting from one of the nearby buildings, and there were several older security cameras in Loyola Park. Currently, there are no leads, although from what I understand, there is a reward of at least $20,000 for any information that would help result in his arrest. So,
yeah, there's a very sketchy-looking, image of the guy. It's very difficult to see very much about him. He has like a ski mask on, and
correct.
Can't really see very many facial features.
Yes, it was. I understand it was speculated to be a ski mask. However, I've heard people saying he was wearing a black bandana. I've heard conflicting reports on this because his for a while he was racially ambiguous. Most people seem to believe he's African American, but we're not really. We initially weren't very sure, but
he looks kind of black from the picture that was posted.
Right, yeah, and people aren't sure if he's wearing a full ski mask or if it's just the bandana that's blending in with his skin, but again, that's still some speculation about that. And if anybody does happen to have any information, I implore you to contact the Chicago Police Department. From what I understand, the FBI is also offering its services, and there is also a block club near where one of the shootings occurred that is helping to, working with the Alderman's office to help encourage awareness about this and also foster a better sense of community within the area around that happened, around where that happened.
Sizable reward.
Yes, indeed.
Posted for any information.
$21,000.
I believe that's about right. It's somewhere currently. I believe somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000 at the points. I believe it was the United Jewish Fund or Jewish United Fund donated $10,000. There were a couple other offices that donated smaller amounts of money. So, yeah, that would be a good thing. If you have any information on that, feel free to let people know. In other local news, Treasure Island, the legendary grocery chain, I believe it was one of the very first organic supermarket chains in the country, is shutting down. They're closing all of their locations. Why? Mainly because there are cheaper options for example, Aldi is offering a lot of very cheap organic food in terms of inexpensive. It's still high quality, just very inexpensive. Yeah. I've shopped at Treasure Island in the past. I never went there very often, but it was very overpriced, even by, say, Whole Foods standards.
Seems like a pirate.
Seems like a what?
Why Treasure Island? That's just such a
Treasure. I'm not really sure.
That's
I,
just
how-
kind
how
of a
long have they
random
been
name
around? I don't
for
know.
a grocery store.
I mean, it was probably named after the book by Robert Louis Stevenson, Treasure Island. That's my guess. I mean, to be fair, like an island of treasures, like some very very interesting things to be found in the stores, good like unique international groceries, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
In addition, there is a produce wholesaler that Treasure Island worked with is suing them for over $453,000, and that's
Damn.
because I believe it was due to unpaid for merchandise, or either like they have to default on their loans or something, or they're declaring bankruptcy or something along those lines.
Was it for the Wilmette location, or was that for all locations?
I believe it was for the. I'm actually not sure. I believe
let's
it was.
pull up the article.
We do have an article. We're going to pull that up really quick. If I remember correctly, it was the Wilmette location, but we're going to make it. We're going to make it
Chicago
work.
sometimes.
Yep. This is from the Sun Times. Let's see. Treasure Island Foods is being. Can you move up just a little bit, please? Just can you scroll up? Thank you. Let's scroll up. There you go. Treasure Island Foods is being sued by a produce wholesaler for unpaid deliveries amounting to just over $453,000. Let's see, is being brought against the chain itself by Treasure Island. They alleges the Treasure Island, which did in fact operate the Wilmette location, did not pay for produce. So it's specifically against the Wilmette location, from what we understand. Let's see. Yeah, it's specifically the company, the wholesaler selling the is suing rather Treasure Island and the company that operates the Wilmette location.
All right.
Yeah. So, did you guys ever shop at Treasure Island?
No, I've never heard of the fucking place until you mentioned it.
I've been in there a couple times. Just Wilmette one.
Okay. I've been,
Oh, that's why it's in Wilmette. I mean,
it's a Chicago chain.
They have
Okay.
other locations,
Yeah.
or they
Yeah.
did at least.
Yeah, there was one on Clark and Division for a long time. I think that may have been one. I don't think it was the original one, but it's definitely one of the older ones. There was one in Hyde Park as well. I've actually been to the Hyde Park one. A friend of mine a couple summers ago had a cookout in where is it? Harold Washington Park, which is in Hyde Park, or it's in like the Hyde Park neighborhood, and there's a Treasure Island within walking distance. Yeah, I think we just got like a 12-pack of High Life there, and it was like that wasn't that overpriced. It was like in line with what you would find at a liquor store. But yeah, I mean, it was just like from what I understand from people that did shop there, it was way overpriced. So that may have ended up being its downfall in the end. So. Yeah, another one of those like Chicago chains. So like if you mention Treasure Island, people know exactly what you're talking about. It's like with Jewel Osco or in restaurants Harold's. Like it's very much sort of like a Chicago, very much embedded in the Chicago psyche, and it's going to be interesting to see if another supermarket chain takes over that mantle in the next decade or so.
Or not. I mean, there's so many like Trader Joe's and Whole Foods and Aldi and Jewel.
there was Dominic's on that one like the mall strip area near Evanston Township.
Dodge and Evanston.
Yeah.
Yeah, Evanston Plaza is what's
Did
called.
they like go under?
They did.
Like national?
I believe either they went under or they were. I don't think they were bought out. I think they may have just gone under.
Was it that particular Dominic's location, or is Dominic's the
Dominic's
entire
is gone
company?
now.
They're done.
Yeah, because there was a Dominic's near DePaul, I believe, was on Fullerton and Sheffield. That is now Whole Foods.
Yeah.
And a few of the Dominic's were converted into Mariano's, which is what actually I remember.
Oh yeah, Mariano's the new poppin' one.
Yeah.
Too.
I remember in I believe it was 2013 when Dominic's went under, late 2013.
Yeah.
Everybody at DePaul was hoping that the location would get turned into a Mariano's because there really wasn't one close by at the time. This was around when Mariano's, which incidentally is owned by Roundy's, was really starting to expand in Chicago, and everyone was like really hoping there'd be a Mariano's there, and we were kind of disappointed when we found out it was going to be a Whole Foods. But yeah, I've been to I remember Dominic's. It was slightly more expensive, but they did tend to have like more like international goods and high quality stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I guess, in a sense, worth the money.
Do you guys find it odd at all that when you get stuff at Whole Foods, they ask you if you have an Amazon account?
That's correct. As a matter of
It's
I
fucking
don't
weird,
generally
right?
shop at Whole Foods.
I rarely do, but I have actually seen they actually have Prime deal things. I believe, is that because
That's strange.
I believe, didn't Amazon buy Whole Foods?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it's from. Like if you have Amazon Prime, you can get like for example, what was it? I believe it was if you bought, because I was there about a week ago and I actually did get a Prime discount. If you bought a jar of pasta sauce, or I forget if you bought a jar of pasta sauce, you get a free box of pasta with it. So it's just like small things that can help you
Yeah,
save
speaking
money.
of Amazon, we will be discussing Jeff Bezos later in this podcast.
Well, indeed, yes. How he's
Anti-union cocksucker.
an anti-union, obscenely wealthy gentleman that
Yeah.
we will be discussing later.
So
But
stay tuned.
yes, please do. Treasure Island going under, and it should certainly change the scape of supermarkets in the region.
There's a Benny's opening up.
There is in
And
Evanston on
Chicago
Chicago Avenue.
Avenue.
There is going to be a Binny's, formerly a Whole Foods location. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects local liquor stores, because Evanston, incidentally, for those who aren't aware, Evanston was the birthplace of the temperance movement headed by Francis Willard. And as a matter of fact, the very first liquor store in Evanston's history did not open. I don't know if it was Evanston's history, but it may have been. First liquor store in Evanston's history is appropriately enough called Evanston First. Did not open until 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very much a recent development, the sale of liquor in Evanston. It's going to be interesting to see a Binny's open over there in that particular area, that particular district.
What's really interesting is because of the prohibition laws, there are two types of licenses that businesses have to get in Evanston. One is for selling alcohol, but then another is I guess you're an establishment that people can drink there.
That's
so
true.
because
Like for bars. And
Yeah, because
restaurants,
Binny's
as
has
opposed
a-
to like just
has
wholesale.
like Binny's has a tasting room,
That's true, yeah.
so they had to work that out with the city of Evanston.
That's correct, because it's like a combined, like sort of like a tab. It's like a tasting / tap room, and they have liquor sales as well. So it's sort of like both. They sell packaged goods as well as sort of acting as a bar in a sense.
Yeah.
So I do have to get 2 licenses for that. That's specifically in Evanston. I'm not sure what the laws are regarding that in Chicago or elsewhere in the metro, but
Probably easier to get licensed in Chicago.
I would imagine. I would imagine. I would
Yeah.
imagine so. I would imagine so. But yeah, that may very well change. Anyway, so that's just some local business news. We also want to talk a little bit about the Chicago mayoral race that will be happening, I believe, in late February. Jesus Garcia, who ran in a runoff against Rahm Emanuel in 2015, is electing not to run this time. He ran. I don't remember the number of the district offhand. It was Luis Gutierrez's former district. I can actually look that up really quickly just to make sure what his state house district that was. He is not running this year, so I believe Chu was running against Carlos Ramirez Rosa, who I believe is the nominee.
Yeah.
Let me see. He was Illinois 4th is where it was. Yep. So Illinois 4th was his district, which has sort of a slang name, is the earmuff district, because it is heavily gerrymandered, because it was actually unlike many districts nationwide, it was gerrymandered essentially by federal law, because until then there was no majority Latino district in Illinois. So basically the Illinois 4th was pretty much carved out of the northwest and the southwest sides, which at the time were heavily Polish and Mexican. There's still a lot of Polish folks living there, but not as many as there used to be. But that's essentially, it was basically gerrymandered by court order in a sense.
Oh.
Let me pull up the District 4 2008. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I'm reading just a quick reference off Wikipedia here. Gutierrez's announcement of not running has led multiple Democrats to begin circulating petitions. Jesus Garcia, who is a member of the Cook County Board of Commissioners, he's probably the most prominent candidate in the race. Carlos Ramirez Rosa and Proco Joe Moreno, I haven't heard of them, but those two are both aldermen. They're part of the Chicago City Council. They circulated petitions for the nomination. I see. Interesting. Apparently, Ramirez Rosa and Moreno both withdrew, and Gutierrez endorsed Garcia. So,
Rahm Emanuel will not be running.
No.
that is correct. Rahm Emanuel will not be running. As a matter of fact, you guys might get a kick out of this. I have a story related to this. The day he announced he was not running, I believe it was the day after. It was the day after Labor Day, because I remember that was the first day of CPS. I wasn't working that day. Incidentally, I'm a substitute teacher in Chicago Public Schools. I was not working that day, but I was at the Secretary of State office, basically a DMV, getting my ID updated because I had just moved. And I will say this, I have never seen as the news spread throughout the building where we were, I've never seen so many just openly ecstatic people at a DMV in my life, and I don't think I ever will again. Like people were like high-fiving each other in line. They were just like,
Yeah,
everyone
DMVs suck. It's miserable.
Yeah, and like everybody was just so thrilled to hear that Emmanuel was not running. So that was a very exciting moment for me. Like that's one of those things. Like where were you when X happened? Like where were you when you heard Rahm Emanuel wasn't running? Now I have a story about that. So
yeah,
I wonder why he's not.
My
I
speculation.
think some of it was connected with the Laquan McDonald case.
Some of them have been,
policing. I'm sure there's other reasons. And William, what do you?
I would say that it has to do with the McDonald case, the McDonald Van Dyke case, as well as I think honestly he just had enough. Like he was probably one of the most unpopular politicians in Chicago, if not the most unpopular. He receives a lot of flack still from the Chicago Teachers Union. I mean, he's done under his tenure about 70 Chicago public schools have been closed, including 50 at once in I believe it was on May 22nd, 2013, which I call in jest the St. Rita's Day Massacre. It was basically that was the date that the Chicago Board of Ed votes close. I believe 50 elementary schools. It was either 50 elementary schools or 49 elementary and 1 high school in Chicago.
I think I vaguely remember
and he
that.
opened up a bunch of charters in their place.
That's right. Some of them were replaced by charters. Others were just charters that opened after that.
They like send kids to other local elementary schools.
That's true. They were busing. They were consolidating schools. Yeah, actually, my dad incidentally attended 5 different elementary schools because he moved around a lot. He went to, those of you who are familiar with Chicago will know about the areas where he lived. In rough order, he went to Ogden, Jenner, Brenneman, Stewart, and Stockton. So Ogden and Jenner both sort of the near north side. Jenner, incidentally, was one of the neighborhood schools for the Cabrini Green housing projects where he lived in the late 50s. My dad is Puerto Rican, and at the time, the school was housing projects over there were still mainly Puerto Rican and Italian, with some African American families coming in. He went to Jenner. When he was born, when he started school, he went to Ogden because they lived up on Superior. Then he went to Jenner. Then when he moved to Uptown, he went to those 3 other schools and eventually went to Sanford High School. But yeah, so of those schools, the only ones that remain open are Ogden and Brenneman.
Damn.
Yeah.
And Sen.
Sen is still open. Yeah, Sen is still open. Jenner was merged with Ogden actually this year. This is the first year the two have been merged. Stockton was merged with Courtney, which Courtney. It's kind of complicated. Long and the short of this is Courtney. What was it? Courtney Middle School, I believe. Courtney Upper Grade Center moved into the Stockton building and took over the name. So like Stockton, the building is still operating, but Courtney lives there now. Courtney operates there now. Stewart is being turned into lofts, and I want to pull up the loft page. No, let me. You guys are gonna flip like I did when I saw this. I'm gonna pull up the page for this. This is just unacceptable in so many ways. Actually, let me pull this up on the other thing. Let's pull that up. Okay. These are called the Stewart School Lofts. These are rentals, and you will be astonished to see the prices on these. Let me just.
Wait, where's Stewart? What's the
Stewart is right. Okay, if you ever go on the red line past Wilson, you ever seen like a big brick building with a green roof?
I'm sure if you pointed out to me.
Yeah, that's where Stewart was. It was a 4,500 block of Kenmore, I believe.
Just south of in Uptown. Yeah.
Yeah, that big brick building was Stewart.
That's just what Chicago needs is more unaffordable housing.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about unaffordable, I'm pulling up the page for this. This incidentally can be found at stewartschoollofts.com. This is the apartment page for them.
We can put a link in the description.
We will do that. Let me just find the rents. Let me find the prices here. Okay, view available floor plans. Here we go. Let's do that. I think this is where the prices are. Okay, let's see. A studio apartment, 565 square feet. Let me pull up the. You guys can take a look at this on the website. I'm just going to show you guys what the floor plan looks like. That is 565 square feet in total. That is the entire apartment.
Okay, for $1,700. Oh my God.
Yep.
No.
Charlie, if you want to take a look, this is the entire apartment.
Damn.
For
Are you fucking kidding me?
That is the entire apartment.
That's over $1,000 for that?
Okay, yeah.
$1,700.
Okay, yeah. The rents for this, they range from, depending on, I believe, the look. I think depending on what floor it's on, it goes from $1,655 to $1,755 a month.
The fuck that? Who's gonna live there?
God, first of all,
who are they expecting?
First of all, who the fuck would pay that much to live near the Uptown L, specifically the Wilson L? And secondly, let me just find I know there are more. Let me see if because I was looking at this the other day and just looking through like how just obscene the prices are for these.
I may be wrong, but I heard that in terms of the expensive housing, Chicago is ranked number 17 in the nation.
That would surprise me.
Like
Yeah, that
number
sounds
one
about
being the
right.
most expensive.
Yeah, I would guess is San Francisco the most expensive, or it must be up there.
San Francisco's got to be up
Seattle's pretty expensive.
New
Seattle's
York.
expensive, yeah. New York,
Washington,
yeah, okay.
D.C.
Oh God, you don't get. Okay, let me see this. Okay, let's play the prices right. Try to guess how much the cheapest. Where is this? Okay, I'm just skilling. Okay, try to guess how much the cheapest one bedroom there is. It's not a whole lot more than
1,200.
Yeah, it's
higher. Higher 1,200.
What the fuck?
1,400,
Higher.
1,500.
Higher.
1,600,
2
17.
Higher.
grand.
Lower.
Which is
1,900.
for a one bedroom.
1905 for one
Well,
bedroom.
fuck that.
For one bedroom, what's this? One bedroom, 1.5 bathrooms. So it has a powder room. It's about 1,000 square feet. It is $1,905.
All right. Well, yeah. So if you're interested in living at the
If you can
former
afford
school,
that,
you're a fucking
Yeah.
moron and
if,
buy housing elsewhere.
if
Buy
you're
housing
a
elsewhere,
trust fund
exactly.
baby, you could afford it.
You could, if you're an alum, maybe you could, but I mean, well, maybe, you know. I mean,
If you
from back in the day,
if you get a handout from your parents,
maybe
to afford it.
I mean, I'm looking at the floor plan. This is not much larger than where I'm living right now, and I pay $845 for that. Just like I'm looking at the design, I think, but square footage, I think it's a bit larger, but the design of the apartment looks very similar to where I reside. 2-bedroom, the cheapest one is let me look this up really quick. 2-bedroom, the cheapest one is $2,700. That is a 1,600 square footer, 2 beds, 2 baths. That's interesting. There's a multi-purpose room. Hey, we could move into there and just have I could make the multi-purpose room the studio and write it off the tax deduction.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh hell yeah! $900 an each. I mean, you guys can like or what?
Right.
Yeah,
Not terrible.
not terrible.
Oh, okay, now this is kind of related, but your lease is this is technically a 1-bedroom.
It's 1 bed, 1 bath.
Okay,
Yeah.
so could you cheat the lease? Say, okay, you put like 3 bunk beds in your bedroom. You technically have 6 people living.
Well, doesn't everyone who
Does that
lives here
ever-
has to sign onto the lease?
That's correct.
technically?
Technically, you would have to sign on to the lease. So what my particular lease says, and this may vary depending on your property management company, my lease says I'm allowed to have, like, if someone wants to stay over, they can stay over for a total of 3 weeks in 1 calendar year. I believe that is per person. I'm not 100% sure, but I would have to get other people to sign on. I have to talk to the property management company and have them sign on to the lease themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Anyways.
So you can't cheat the system.
I mean, well, you can. You just have to, you can't cheat it per
You'd
se.
have to be discreet.
You have to be very discreet, very much so. Oh wow, there's a 3-bedroom in here apparently available for. These are all lofts, by the way, so it's those really fucking annoying ones where the ceilings don't go all the way up to the walls don't go all the way up to the ceiling. Yeah, those are really sus. Kind of. There are a few like those in the West Loop. They're pretty cheap, but like, because like a friend and I were like thinking about rooming together, and we were rooming together, and we was looking at those because had he transferred jobs, he would be working near Fulton Market, so that would have been like the perfect location for him. And we were thinking about it, but then we saw the pictures. We were like, "There's no way." Like with low walls, there would be no way we could do that. There's for 3,500. Let's see, one for that's not bad. 1,560 square feet for 3,500 a month. It's 3 beds, 2 baths, and there's another for 4,000. That's like 1,745. I mean, if you were living with like 3 other people, then that wouldn't be a terrible amount.
No.
But then again, why would you want to live near the Wilson L for that much?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Uptown is like there are parts of Uptown that I would love to live in, like near the Green Mill, for example. That's a great like area.
Yeah.
I don't remember that particular area. It's called Sheridan Park. No, Sheridan Park is further south. Somewhere around there. Like those of you who are from Chicago will know where I'm talking about. But it's like, yeah.
Is there any like? I wonder what the housing is like in Cicero.
Cicero's not that bad. It's suburban, but
Is Cicero in Chicago or is Cicero a suburb?
Are you talking about Cicero Avenue or Cicero suburb?
I guess Cicero Avenue.
Okay, yeah, that's the west. That's like the northwest and the west side. It's not that expensive because, it's not that expensive. It's not really near a whole lot of L tracks unless you're like on the west side, like south of. Let's see, so it would be Cicero and Harrison, I believe, is where the stop is on the south branch of the Blue Line, which is not the best neighborhood, but still pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
Cicero up north, like near Belmont Cragen, in that area, that is pretty inexpensive actually. I would say it's comparable to Rogers Park.
Okay.
And Belmont Cragen's it's like used to be like Polish. It's like one of those neighborhoods on the northwest side. It used to be like 90% Polish, and now it's like now that Humboldt's gentrifying, a lot of Puerto Ricans are moving in over there, so it's becoming a lot more racially mixed.
Chicago isn't like they don't have the highest number of Polish people anymore, do they?
I think it's still pretty high.
It's still pretty
it is?
high. I can look that up.
Yeah,
It's still
let's look
pretty
it
high. Largest Polish. I'm pretty sure either that or like some of the Detroit suburbs.
Okay.
Largest Polish city. Largest Polish city outside Poland. I'm pretty sure it's still. Excuse me. I'm pretty sure it's still Chicago. Oh no, hold on. In 2012, New York dethroned Chicago as the largest Polish city outside or inside the U.S. At the time, this is okay. At the time, it said 55,000 Polish immigrants compared to Windy City's 46,000. That might not have counted first or second generations.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're talking about like total amount of people, like any Polish heritage.
True. I have Wikipedia up here about the Polish diaspora. Let me look this up really quick for North America. So I'm looking at, there's a map you know what, actually, by states, Wisconsin and Michigan have more Polish folks than Illinois.
Wow.
Per capita or just
By
total?
percentage, more like Wisconsin and Michigan have more than 10% of their residents have Polish ancestry.
That's surprising. I mean, I guess if you're talking about ancestry in general, but
I mean, times change. Skokie used to have the highest Jewish population.
They did. They had a significant amount actually of Holocaust survivors.
Yeah.
right.
Okay, I found here's a paragraph about it. It says Chicago bills itself as the largest Polish city outside Warsaw, with about 185,000 Polish speakers in the Chicago metro.
There's a lot of Serbians in Chicago.
There are
actually.
a lot, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, when I went to Serbia, I was just there on vacation in May. And people were like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm from Chicago." And they're like, "Oh no, that's awesome! Like I know someone who's like lives in Chicago." So
Yeah. It's interesting. There are like in terms of Western Europeans, there's a lot of Poles, Serbs, and Ukrainians.
Eastern Europeans.
Eastern Europeans, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, there used to be. Is there like a substantial Russian population in Chicago?
I know there's some Russian population in Chicago.
Yeah, because I know like you mentioned to me once that like Russian restaurants are a lot more difficult to find than say like Polish or Ukrainian ones in a lot of senses.
Yeah.
What is Russian food? I'm curious.
Pelmeni.
Like, how does it differ from
Borscht, or is that
Borscht? Is Ukrainian.
Okay.
People eat borscht a lot in Russia, but I think if you're talking about roots, it's
Is it mostly
Ukrainian
protein or
soup.
like
borscht.
starch?
It's like I know it's not starchy. It's like a lot of fruits like tomato and beet and like carrot and
it's basically a fruit meat stew essentially?
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
It's very very good when it's done well.
No.
Is it better cold or hot in your opinion?
I like it hot,
Okay.
but some people like cold borscht.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I know if you go to like a lot of Jewish delis, they will serve it either hot or cold, or sometimes both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, some cuisine there.
It's probably better than British food.
You know,
'Cause British food is notorious for being
I like
awful.
pelmeni. Pelmeni are the Russian dumplings.
Okay.
Um,
That's cool.
you can find them at some grocery stores. And
Yeah.
just make them yourself.
Right. In terms of, I think of like British food. Like I've been to like British themed pubs, like Irish pubs in my opinion.
Spotted dick.
Spotted dick. Yeah, that's
Spotted.
got Heinz baked beans. I actually like my dad hates Heinz beans. I actually like them. I prefer them to like Bush's and like American brands.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that sounds pretty good. Let's see.
It's like a big thing. Last winter, my family went to Scotland because we have my mom's cousin is married. Her husband is Scottish, and she lives there. And to them, Indian food is it's not that surprising. To them, Indian food is bigger there, and like they have better Indian food than Indian food
I know
here.
there's definitely a sizable South Asian population.
Definitely.
in the UK.
Definitely. As a matter of fact, I like to explain to people like in the UK, Indian food is as big there as Mexican food is here, basically. Because it's like it's partially a side effect of colonization, and partially because like they just have the recipes down so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean like there's like you can find good Indian food in like Little India around Devon in Chicago, but there's like a lot of like
Garib Nawaz,
Near US.
one of
Yes.
our personal favorite restaurants.
They're not sponsoring us, by the way. We're just fans.
Well, what's that one that Rangoli.
Rangoli? Oh yeah, over on North and Western.
Yeah,
that's
it's
another
really
one.
good.
Yep, there's a lot of very good Indian restaurants in Chicago.
Got good shit near UIC.
Yes, lots of good stuff around there. That's right, that's Little Italy, or this formerly was, and there's Greektown around there. Yep, good stuff. Okay, so...
Anyways, we could talk about the scumbag billionaires running for governor.
Oh boy, let's talk about Mr.
Pritzker.
Paul. Yeah, let's talk about JB the plumber.
The slimy, wimpy candidate.
Okay, so for those of you who live outside of Illinois, there are two main candidates for governor. There's a couple, at least one or two third-party guys running, but the main candidates are, let me think, for Republican, the incumbent is Bruce Browner, notorious for his budget concerns, to say the least.
He's pro death penalty, too.
He is pro-death penalty, which incidentally has been illegal in Chicago or in Illinois, rather, I believe, since about 2011 is when it was outlawed by...
Illinois is not a state that invokes the death penalty very often.
It's not. I don't know off the top of my head.
Even when it was legal.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head like when the last victim of the death penalty occurred in Illinois, but it was inactive. It was very much an inactive law. It wasn't like formally taken off the books, I believe until about 2011. But anyway, so that's the Republican candidate. The Democrat candidate is J.B. Pritzker. Those of you who are from Chicago should recognize that surname. Very wealthy family, to say the least. Either you guys talk about the toilet incident.
I brought this up. So basically, on one of J.B. Pritzker's properties, he took some toilets.
Took all the toilets out.
Yeah, not some. He took all of the toilets out so he could get it was like $300,000 tax break or something like that.
Yeah, it's because technically, if a house does not have indoor plumbing, you do not have to pay taxes on it, I believe is the law.
That's bullshit.
Something along those lines.
Which is, I mean, this goes to show our tax code may or may not need updating.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't enjoy the fact that both of them are from Winnetka.
Yeah.
Fun facts.
I didn't know Pritzker was. I didn't know Pritzker.
I didn't know either of them were.
I knew the Rounders from Winnetka. I didn't know about Pritzker.
Yeah, Pritzker
though.
is.
Okay, that's fascinating. There's actually a school named after one of the Pritzkers in Chicago. It's formerly was the Wicker Park Grammar School, but it was renamed for A.N. Pritzker in '86 because he was like a major benefactor to them. Like he was one of the good Pritzkers, in my opinion.
One of the good Pritzkers.
One of the good ones. Well, he was one of the good ones. But yeah, the Wicker Park Elementary in the '80s was renamed to the Pritzker Elementary School. Like it's not like a Pritzker as in like a charter school decided to name a school after a billionaire like Rounder College Prep.
Ugh.
Yeah, or Meechin College Prep in the Loop, but like they just named it after Pritzker because he was an alum of the school actually, and he was a major benefactor as well.
I mean, is there anything else? I turned on the first debate and it was just horrible.
I couldn't even want to stomach.
I didn't watch any.
I didn't watch it.
What was it like?
You guys did not.
What did they do? Were they just
They were
bickering?
just attacking each other and being like, well, this happened under you. Well, like, you don't pay attention to the tax code. Like, fuck you. Like,
oh, Jesus.
It was pretty bad. I mean, I don't know if they used any obscenities, but
I doubt it, but
it was,
Oh my God.
I don't enjoy how that. I don't know that's. I don't. That's just what American politics has turned into. It's both candidates that you don't really like.
You're basically just voting for the person who you think is less terrible than opponent.
Yeah, voting for the least bad
party.
or voting for the worst, because in America, just because we have what is essentially a two-party system, it really that often is the case, especially
There's
after
no
the
viable third-party alternative.
There is not. We could argue day and night and twice on Sunday about how
twice on Sunday.
About how about which party should be the viable third party.
Yeah.
But it would not really go anywhere.
No.
Go ahead.
I mean, we could talk about it.
We could talk about it on the show.
I am, for those who don't know, I'm a member of the Socialist Party. I just joined it because I thought, like, hey, it's their political party. I thought it'll be cool,
And I'm a member of the Communist Party. Just kidding.
Sorry,
Charlie, go ahead.
No, it's fine that they would do stuff, but I realized that they're not centralized. They don't have any national goal. It's kind of just let the locals do what they want to do, and it's just not effective. They don't. they're paralyzed by being decentralized like that. They can't make any effective change to the system. And interestingly enough, they allow dual membership between the Democratic Socialists, which is an organization. They're not a political party. They can't run
They're
candidates.
That's right.
not
They're not-
affiliated with the Socialist
That's
Party.
correct.
So
correct.
you can have dual membership in both, but you're not allowed to have dual membership in the Communist Party USA and the Socialist Party USA.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Even though the Socialist Party is multi-tendency and you have like...
You have Stalinists there.
Yeah, you have
Nazis,
Stalinists, Maoists, Leninists, Trotskyists.
Marxists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
yeah.
part of me wants
People on some
to
other shit.
like
Yeah.
join the Communist Party and see what happens.
Yeah.
Just-
Incidentally, I myself, I believe I registered when I registered to vote back in 2011 as a Democrat. I do not believe I'm still registered as. I may or may not be registered still as one. I tend to vote towards the left, although I do have some positions that are more associated with the right wing of the spectrum, particularly as it pertains to gun control.
Yeah.
However, if I had to, let me ask you this, Charlie. If you had to choose one political party to be the viable third party in the U.S., which would you choose?
I would say Socialist Party
Okay.
because of what Robert Reich said.
Oh, that's true.
I did. So one day I was bored. I thought for shits and giggles I'll email Robert Reich and what he thinks of like the Democratic Socialists, Bernie Sanders, and the Socialist Party. And he responded by saying, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said because of the income inequality in the U.S. that if Democrats cannot address that and come out as
progressive. Enough,
as
essentially.
progressive, then they'll become kind of just they'll fade away. People won't.
They'll become obsolete. In a
Yeah,
sense? Okay.
they'll become kind of just like the Whig Party. They'll just
fade away. Pretty
Yeah.
Much, yeah. They'll like essentially devolve, and maybe like they'll either like have a few people hanging on, or the rest will just join. They'll just create a new slightly further to the left party, which
Right.
could potentially be a Labour Party. Could be affiliated
Right.
with the British Labour Party. Could be a Social Democrat Party. Which incidentally, I would like to see a viable third party that is either. I would like to see personally a left libertarian party, like in the vein of say Noam Chomsky being developed, who incidentally is, I believe, a socialist libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
But something along those lines, like just a left libertarian party, whether that is the current Libertarian Party of the U.S., which tends towards the right on most
Yeah,
issues.
they're pretty right wing generally.
Yeah, in general, they're right wing. Yeah, there are some exceptions, I believe, but yeah, I would like to see a strong left libertarian party in the United States. Like I tend not to label myself, but I would label myself. If I had to pick, I would label myself a social democrat in the vein of, say, a Jeremy Corbyn or a Bernie Sanders, or a maybe not as quite far left as a Jerry Adams type from Sinn Féin in Northern Ireland, but somebody who like is slightly to the left of the Democratic Party, but still wants
left center.
Yeah, somebody like by international standards is centrist or center left.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, somebody like a party that is firmly entrenched in free market capitalism, but not capitalism gone wild, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Julian, do you have any comments? So, like, which party would you like to see?
I don't. I wouldn't really like call myself like a socialist. I don't associate myself very strongly with any U.S. political party.
That's fair.
I think, philosophically, ideology, I tend to be a little bit more liberal, but not as far left as some other people. But I usually vote for Democrats, but I don't know.
Typically, I also tend to vote for Democrats, but that's only because, like, the Green or Libertarians I just find completely intolerable. Like, I won't specifically say who I voted for in the general election for president in 2016, although I did a lot of research on Jill Stein, and she has some things I was very much opposed to, particularly.
She's kind of has some nutty kind of.
Yeah.
She does.
Beliefs.
Have you guys seen the picture of her sitting at a round table with Vladimir Putin?
No.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll show that to you guys sometime. If you guys,
All right.
if you Google like Jill Stein table Putin or something, you'll probably be able to find it. But I believe it was with Putin.
Yeah.
But anyway, there were some parts of her platform specifically regarding nuclear power that I could not bring myself to support.
Yeah.
But yes, because I was
She's very, very anti-nuclear,
she very much so. And
which is just crazy.
yeah. That's also, incidentally, that's also why I have some major qualms with Greenpeace, because they were very much anti-nuclear power in the 80s and 90s. And I am opposed to them because if they had not come out against nuclear power, we would not, in large part, be in the environmental situation we are in today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, so those are basically our own, just for your own, just in case any of our listeners were curious, those are essentially where we stand on political issues. Getting back to the Illinois governor's race, Pritzker made some comments about a graduated income tax. He is pretty much, as far as we can understand, in favor of it. We have an article here we're going to pull up from the Korean Chicago Business. I'm just going to pull this up really quick. The article, incidentally, is titled, Pritzker defends graduated income tax as crucial for Illinois, which in a sense it may very well be. I mean... Regardless of your own tax policy, personally, I'm in favor of high enough taxes on the upper class that they do not simply hoard their money and cease innovating. But at the same time, I would like to see dramatically lower taxes on the working class and the working poor, and particularly even the middle class. Because when you lower like the taxes on the lower socioeconomic stratuses, or the socioeconomic levels, I should say. If you lower those, spending will increase because people have more disposable income, and tax receipts will increase. So that's my own opinion of like what a graduated income tax, how it should essentially play out.
I'm surprised that that graduated income tax, that's a policy of the Socialist Party.
It is.
That's part of the that's one policy. You make more money, you pay more in taxes. I'm surprised he hasn't been
labeled a socialist.
Yeah, like Fox News yet. Or
Fox News. Oh,
I don't. They might not be paying very much
attention.
attention.
I don't think anybody
I'm not sure.
is paying that much
Illinois
attention. They give a shit.
Gubernatorial.
But it's interesting he's not being.
Yeah, or even like the. I don't even think the Tribune has called them out on this yet, and they tend to be more conservative anyway.
Yeah.
So that's. Has Rauner said anything in response to that? Are you guys aware of? I'm sure you can find something about that, but let me...
Well, Rauner's counteract is saying that Pritzker wants to raise taxes on everybody.
Yeah, which he doesn't.
But that's not what Pritzker's saying.
Not at all. Not at all. Let me just... I'm just going to look up really quick. I'm just going to Google Rauner on graduated income tax really quick.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the way that the tax structure used to be in this country, people at the top used to pay a lot more, and they actually paid it.
Yeah.
There was, as far as I know, much less hiding of money in offshore accounts and all that.
I found an article from the Sun-Times. It is called Fact Check, Rauner Overstates Facts. Hold on a second. Rauner Overstates Facts about states with graduated income tax. Just like some fact-checking thing, I believe. Okay, I see.
Is Minnesota one of them?
It may be. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is written by Kiana Cepeda-Miller, who is with the Better Government Association. I believe this isn't. Is this not bad? No, it's organized apparently by PolitiFact. But let's take a look here and see if I can. Let's see. I've got it. I hope this isn't paywalled. Let's see. Here we go. I think we should be okay. Come on. X out. Yeah. So basically, it looks like he is overstating some certain things about this. Okay. August 22nd. A quote from Bruce Rauner. Every state that has put in a graduated income tax, the middle class always pays more. I assume this is either confirming or denying that. Okay, here's a direct quote from this article. This is from the Sun-Times. In Illinois, the rich as well as the not-so-rich all pay the same 4.95% tax rate on their income. We asked Rauner spokesman Justin Giorgio to explain how middle-class taxpayers are worse off in all states with graduated taxes, and he sent us a list of 26 states in which a single filer making $59,000 would be taxed at a higher rate than the one currently in effect in Illinois. Yeah. And according to the writer of this article, Cepeda Miller, there are is that the right? Yeah. There are glaring problems with the response. She says that Giorgio's list omits 6 issues with graduated taxes where such a taxpayer would pay less, even though Rauner was adamant that his claim applied to all such states. So he basically is he is not telling the full truth. I don't know if that's because he is ignorant of that or if he is specifically hiding that.
He's probably hiding it. I
That would
mean,
surprise me.
I could see where he's using that middle class pays more, but if you look at who identifies as middle class, like a majority of people aren't in that category.
That's true.
That
yeah.
What is the cutoff for middle class?
It's by quintile. I can look
Because
that up really
it's
quick.
smaller in this country than people claim to be.
That's correct.
Because
Is there like one like dictionary agreed upon definition for what middle class is, or is it kind
I
of
think
just
it's
like,
just
It's relative.
it's a money. It's how
Yeah.
much you make.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up the quintiles for the U.S. It's like what's the I don't know if this is okay. Tax Policy Center. This is okay. Tax Policy Center household income quintiles. Okay, this is a little bit outdated. Let me see. Okay, the most recent this has is 2015. We can do let's see.
it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. We can do essentially the mean and the upper limit for each one. So the first quintile, mean, this is basically what we would consider essentially the lower class. Mean income is 12,457. Upper limit is 22,800. For the second quintile, which we could gradually define as working class, is the mean is 32,631. Upper limit is 43,511. Middle class, which is the third quintile, would be 56,832. The mean upper limit 72,000. The upper middle class would be 92,000 to 112,262. And the highest fifth, the average, they do not have an upper limit, but the average is 200,000.
Oh,
Yeah, so that can, definitely. I think not what a lot of people would associate, for example, with upper or not even middle class, like the upper limit for that being 72,000. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people in certain parts of the country would classify that as upper middle class.
yeah.
Yeah, it definitely depends
Yeah.
where you are. If you're in some rural somewhere,
Yeah.
that's really a lot. But if you're in San Francisco, that's
Right.
That's not a lot. That
all.
will not get you a refrigerator box in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But incidentally, I think there's just connecting this to my own career education. There is a misconception that in order to become upper middle class, you need to go to college.
Right.
My dad is a skilled tradesman. He's been in the tool and die industry pretty much his entire adult life, and he makes. I won't say specifically how much, but it places him firmly in upper middle class. And there's this misconception that, first of all, we're always going to need, plumbers, welders, carpenters, and those are occupations that are not going to immediately be automated.
I don't see like plumbing and
Right.
any of that being
Skilled
automated
labor.
in the next
Yeah, skilled
10
labor.
to 20 years.
Yeah, I was talking to a student. I was subbing the other day at a high school in Wicker Park, and I was talking to a student who mentioned that he wasn't going to go to college because his dad owns a carpentry business, and he agreed to
Oh.
apprentice him.
Yeah.
And I was
Oh,
explaining
shit,
to
yeah.
him. Yeah, I was connecting.
That's smart.
Yeah, that's really smart. My dad offered me an apprenticeship, but I was already pretty much set on education, so that's why I declined it. However, I explained to him that's a good option. Like going to technical school is an excellent option because not only once you're even a journeyman, you can start making essentially a middle class income. You will get paid to go to school.
Right.
Yeah, I mean you will. I was subbing at what CPS calls a career academy, basically a vocational school. I was subbing for a heating and air conditioning class, and there was basically a flyer that's explained the career field to go into to become an electrician because that classroom's also used for electric shop.
Yeah.
And they essentially had all the steps you would go through within 3 or 4 years of education. You can start making
Shit.
upwards of $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
And that's
when you're unionized too,
when
make
you're
a lot
unionized,
more.
you can make a lot more. That's true.
Yeah.
The iron workers in Chicago make a good chunk of money.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's really interesting to think that there is almost on an industrial scale, high schools are pushing students towards college, and that don't necessarily need to go to college. I believe that all students should have the option to have a college prep education if they so desire. But not everybody. Everybody should be able to go to college if they want to. They should be able to have that opportunity. But not everybody should go to college.
I think that community college should be made free in this country.
I mean, education is a right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that. Some people I know would disagree, but I personally agree with that.
Yeah.
I understand state schools still having to charge money and stuff.
Yeah.
I went to University of Wisconsin, and the tuition for that out of state is a little bit steep.
Yeah.
But in general, I think if someone wants to be educated at community college, they absolutely have a right to not go into debt over that.
Right.
My mom was telling me that she lived briefly in California. This would have been in about 77, 78. At the time, if you were a resident of California, every single state college was free. Full
Right.
tuition.
Wow.
Fucking nice.
Yeah.
Back when the rich paid taxes.
Yeah, paid much higher marginal tax rates than they do now.
When like our government didn't spend all its budget on the military.
That's correct. I mean, even Eisenhower, who's during his tenure as president, during his tenure, not is the time as president, not 10 years, but during his time as president, I believe the marginal tax rate was 91%.
Yeah, well, I think the way it worked was like you get to keep a certain amount of money like up to X,
That's
and then correct. After that you pay.
Yeah, that's what a marginal
91%
tax. Yeah,
on.
that's basically what a marginal tax rate is. Above a certain amount, 91% of your income is your income above that amount is paid. But though to be fair, that was about only really maybe about 20 people nationwide paid. That was like the Rockefellers, the Gettys, like all the people who were that wealthy at the time.
No, but I mean, think of it now. Think
Yeah.
of how many more millionaires there are now. Think of how much more.
How many
could
billionaires there are now?
How much
there's
more
a
we
lot
could
of
do with that
billionaires
tax
in the
money? We
US.
could get a brand new infrastructure system in the U.S.
That's correct. In fact, did you know that the Eisenhower Interstate system,
Public education.
The expressways took in total about 30 years to build entirely. Like it wasn't finished
Yeah.
until about, I believe, 87.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just like such a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
I really don't think most politicians nowadays would have the wherewithal to do something like that.
No.
I don't think they care enough either.
Yeah, I don't
honestly,
think
like
Well, most politicians, it's just
who needs infrastructure when you
Right.
can fly around on your private jet?
Right.
Like,
Or fly a drone everywhere. Fly a drone to Saudi Arabia or anything like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just annoying because
Yeah,
like
it is.
as like 90% of the bridges in the United States are structurally deficient.
That's correct.
When they were designed in the
Oh.
1950s, they had a 50-year design life.
Yep.
And the majority of them are going past that time.
Yeah, that's right. What is the average, like if a bridge was built today, what would be its average life?
50 years, even
So 50
more.
years?
I mean, 80, if you maintain it too, it can last longer.
Okay, so it's still like so it has it appreciably increased. Newer design techniques, has it appreciably increased since the 50s?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look into the details. I mean,
Okay.
if once I'm done with school, I'm sure, like, I'll like learn that stuff immediately.
Okay.
Bridges collapsed too in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think that's Minneapolis.
That bridge.
The last but this is maybe like 5 or 6 years
Yeah.
ago. What's the bridge called? Like I-80 or something like that.
Yeah,
It just collapsed and did some people die and people got injured. There was some school buses involved. It was really horrible.
Oh, jeez.
It collapsed because of some design issues. It also wasn't maintained, and they were doing construction on it, and they had all this machinery on it and these really heavy loads, and the bridge just couldn't take it, so it collapsed.
Oh,
So
wow.
a mix of not maintaining
Jeez.
it and some design flaws.
Yeah, that's definitely a infrastructure issue that a lot of states really. It's not that they don't care; it's that they just can't be bothered to fix because if
They
the
don't
bridge-
have funding. For
Yeah,
they don't
there's
have
no
they don't
money
have
for it.
funding, and as long as the bridge works to the extent that it needs to, they may not even care in the end.
it. No.
All right.
All right, so that is some more. Can you pull up Audacity really quick? I just want to see how long we've been on. We've been on almost an hour now, so you can go ahead and back to the outline. Okay, so we've talked about a little about state news. Let's go a bit national and talk about everybody's favorite new Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh.
Gotta love him.
Oh boy, it's interesting. When I wrote this outline, I basically put up a section for when I wrote this outline about 2 weeks ago. The confirmation hearings were still going on. And we were going to talk about how the White House expanded the scope of the FBI investigation to what they currently had. Now that's a bit of a moot point, even though for example, the ACLU broke with a long-standing tradition of opposing a nomination. They tend not to endorse or oppose specific candidates, but they broke tradition for Kavanaugh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't exactly matter.
Yeah, he was confirmed.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
So
If you watch the video of him being confirmed, like the body language of his wife, like he's like the way he touches her, it's like her face looks like she's horrified. It's just really
I'm sure
creepy.
she is. I don't fucking blame her.
Like her body language is saying that this dude beats me or just some really messed up shit.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Would not surprise.
yeah.
Like just the way he was acting and when he was asked questions, like these are like the responses that like someone who's like an angry drunk would give.
Yeah,
Not-
and look, I want to be very clear. We're not specifically accusing Kavanaugh of any of these tendencies,
No.
but we are. We're essentially speculating. So we just want to make that very clear. We're not specifically saying that he is an abuser. that he's an
yeah, we
alcoholic.
don't.
Yeah.
We
I mean,
don't know
I-
for sure.
I personally think that he's an alcoholic.
Okay, could you expand on that a little bit?
I mean, that the way he acted, angry drunks generally tend to act that way. And plus, if you looked at his complexion, he had kind of a pale face. That Steve Bannon in public had kind of that same pale face. And
Is
that's,
Steve Bannon an alcoholic?
yeah, I mean, usually alcoholics tend to have that pale face.
I mean, I have a pale face. I'm not an alcoholic,
Yeah, but
but I'm also.
I do in the
redhead.
winter, but whatever.
I guess not a pale face, but it's more of a pasty.
Okay, pasty like
With like red kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are signs that
What's it called? Like alopecia or something?
yeah.
Yeah, I've known people who were alcoholics, and they're very like, it's not like that they have pale skin. It's their face is like, their skin can often be like sort of devoid of pigment,
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
bumpy.
a
Right.
little bumpy. Yeah, I mean, like they are like essentially have a very like very like weak, like I would say like a weak skin color in a sense, so like weak skin tone, one could say.
Yeah.
I mean, like I didn't watch the entire hearing of Kavanaugh. I only saw a few small parts of it, and he seemed like to not be entirely there mentally. Like he seemed to be very repetitive of certain things. It's like he didn't really, in my opinion, control his temper very well. And
Oh,
like
no, not at all.
In the sense like that somebody who is essentially getting a job interview should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to expand on that, you guys have probably seen more of the hearing than I did.
Yeah,
so if you guys wanna expand
I
on that,
watched
feel
maybe
free.
an hour or two, and just like, especially when he was responding to mostly Democrat senators like Amy Klobuchar and Dick Durbin, like he was so just like, I don't
Bitchy.
like bitchy, but like insolent almost. Like he was very defiant and like. I think Amy Klobuchar asked him something about like, oh, would you say like you've ever like drank to the point of blacking out? And he's like, have you ever drank to the point of blacking out?
Oh,
Like,
jeez.
it was, it was a pretty not enjoyable to watch.
And I will say this about Kavanaugh, like, what your opinion is of him personally. He was like, I believe to an extent that the investigation, like you can say, like I don't want to get too much into his sexual abuse allegations. What I do want to say is that if politicians and other people had gone against him based on his potential perjury in the hearing, then I think that he would not have been confirmed.
I think,
Yeah.
And the thing is, I would have had a lot more respect for him if he had just fucking admitted that he did this stuff and he's like, okay, I was a 18-year-old kid, whatever, like this does not happen now.
It does
like,
not.
you can-
It does not reflect where I am now.
it
If
doesn't
he had
reflect.
said that,
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
have a lot more respect for him if he just fucking owned up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to
But-
defend what he did, but it's like, yeah, it would have, because like to be fair, most Republicans, politicians in high stature, like at the federal level, they were never really going to care that much about sexual allegations in general.
No.
They
Yeah,
really
they
weren't. And
showed
some
they showed
Democrats
that
weren't.
they showed that in the confirmation vote.
Yeah.
Very.
Right.
And I think
clearly.
it's right to critique him for that, and I'm very proud of Dr. Christine Ford for coming out against that.
excellent testimony.
I mean,
Excellent, yeah.
the Republican Party, they are rape apologists.
Yeah.
And if
They are.
anything, that's what the Kavanaugh confirmation showed.
It's fascinating to think about how people, the alternative right or the alt-right, are like believe like any sort of pedophile-related conspiracy theory, but when they're confronted with it directly, such as in the Roy Moore, like if they're confronted with somebody who like potentially may have had I just heard what sounded like a black helicopter. Anyway, right when I mentioned Roy Moore, but anyway. Yeah, I can hear paint. Anyway,
Yeah.
when the whole Roy Moore thing came out, people all throughout the right wing were defending him constantly. I mean, he only won by about like didn't he win by less than 1%?
It was or Doug Jones won. It was a
Yeah.
very
Excuse me, Roy Moore lost by 0.5%.
very very small margin. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very small, but Yeah, Doug Jones is he going to be serving, I believe, till 2020?
I don't know.
Okay.
Look that
Yeah,
up.
if you want to look that up, feel free. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, because I know he's not going to serve until 20. He's not going to serve a full 6-year term. Because,
Yeah, and ending on January 3rd, 2021.
Okay, yeah, because it was I believe it was Jeff Sessions' replacement.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's
Right.
how that happened. Yeah.
All right, we can talk about everyone's favorite billionaire, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Fucking
Do you know that
cocksucker.
Amazon is now worth $1 trillion?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos is worth more than Bill Gates and Warren Buffett combined. He is, I believe, he is the first 100 billionaire in American history. Yeah, I mean, to think, okay, this is something actually kind of interesting. Let me see if I have it nearby. I will be right back. I'm going to grab, I have a facsimile of an old Sears catalog from 1902, and I wanted to bring that over, so I will be right back. You guys can go ahead and continue talking about this kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, Julian, if you want to go ahead and have the floor for a sec.
Yeah, it's interesting to see who has stakes in major newspapers. You know, Rupert Murdoch with
Oh,
Fox
yeah.
and that whole Fox, I forget what it's called, his media empire. But
How much is he worth?
he's worth a lot of money. He's doing pretty
yeah.
good. But actually, Carlos Slim, if anyone's familiar with the Mexican billionaire who owns a lot of infrastructure in
Oh,
Mexico.
privately owned infrastructure.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Carlos Slim. She's a major stakeholder in the New York Times, actually.
Yeah, Carlos Slim is incidentally the owner of Telmex, which is essentially, basically is the AT&T of Mexico. They have a major pretty much a monopoly.
Oh, God.
As far as I know, they are one of, if not the only, telecom companies in Mexico.
That's one of the worst things any country can do is fucking privatized infrastructure.
Yeah, that's bad. And by the way, sorry if there was any ear rape there with my mic, but here's basically what I have. The reason I wanted to bring this over is because I consider, in a way, Amazon to be the modern equivalent to the Sears catalog. For those of you who aren't aware, between about 1886, I believe, and 1992, Sears, or I believe it was actually 1993, actually. Sears printed their own catalogs. They were typically over 1,000 pages because this was long before the internet. They began long before, as a matter of fact.
You could buy a house, right?
You could, in fact.
And you'd build it yourself.
DIY.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, they would send you the house in parts. There's still some existing Sears houses. I'm not sure. Yeah, there may be. I believe there are some in Chicago. I'm not exactly sure where, because Sears incidentally was based in Chicago. Yeah, incidentally, Sears is still in existence, but they are hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
To say the least.
They closed a lot of locations in the last few years.
They have, including the final Chicago, I don't think it was the first Chicago location, but one of the first. It had been open since the 1930s, closed recently.
That's
Why-
on the north side, right?
Why
Yeah.
didn't they adapt? I mean,
They
couldn't
could
they
have.
I heard wasn't it like some issue with like poor management?
That's basically what it was, because Sears, the website, I remember like the Sears.com like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Well, we could see. Let's see its Sears website.
They still have one. It's
See if
more-
it's shitty.
Sears.com.
It's not that bad. I've ordered.
Oh, it's not.
I mean,
that
it
bad.
looks like any other like
Yeah.
It looks pretty good.
retail store. It's
It
like-
does. I mean,
like a
they actually
Best Buy
they have
or
a market.
Walmart.
They have a Sears marketplace also, which is similar, like how Amazon has their own independent sellers.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like a specific website or anything, but yeah, Sears, they have the infrastructure to be bigger than Amazon is now, because they had like so many warehouses, like the whole Sears Tower, former Sears Tower, now the Willis Tower,
What's it called? Like Blackstone Tower or something like that?
Willis Tower.
I thought they changed it again.
Did they?
No.
Not that-
Yeah, they did. It's not Willis
New
Tower.
name
It's
is
something
Sears.
else.
Willis Tower, that's an older article. That's 2009.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you
I swear to
if you
God
click on
they changed
Wikipedia,
What is the Sears Tower called?
that's also kind of that's willistower.com. So if you click on the Wikipedia article, it might have like some more more recent information. Let's see. As of April, largest tenant is United Airlines. They moved their corporate headquarters from the United Building, which is 77 Wacker.
That's a fun street name.
Wacker.
Yeah.
There's Upper and
Wacker
Lower.
Drive.
Yep, Upper Wacker Drive and Lower Wacker Drive.
Maybe it is still called the Willis
I
Tower.
believe it is.
I thought it changed. but-
Some of the others might have changed. I know that the former Smurfett Stone building, which is the one that looks like a diamond, kind of looks like a skyscraper cut in half.
Yeah, if you've seen any pictures of the Chicago skyline, if you Google Chicago skyline, it's pretty obvious which.
They got the good old Hancock building.
They got the Hancock. I don't think that's ever going to change. Smurfett Stone. It's originally called the Stone Container Building. Then it was renamed to Smurfit Stone. And by the way, it's often called the Clit Building because it looks like it's sort of, like basically the reason it's called that is because it was designed in response to people calling skyscrapers very phallic. So basically, this one's that's why it kind of looks. That's why it looks that way pretty much. It has sort of a more yonic kind of thing going on.
There's like some tower. It's a very recent skyscraper that they built in I think China. It looks a lot like a dick.
That's interesting. It's,
China,
Google
skyscraper.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and do that one. If you ever look, I've been to this actually, and I certainly agree with it. If anybody is listening to this, look up the World War I Memorial in Kansas City. I've been there, and it is like very obviously phallic.
Yeah, like this skyscraper looks like a fucking dick.
That is
fireworks coming out of it.
What's that one called?
It's Chinese something or other.
Controversial building in China. The Guangxi New Media Center, spelled Guangxi, or Guangxi, I think is how it's pronounced. Yeah. Okay, there are fireworks coming out of the top of that building, and it looks like it is ejaculating. Yeah. It looks like it is ejaculating.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with ejaculating.
There's nothing wrong with it, but I personally would not.
It's a little strange.
It is.
Build a
No, I mean, it isn't. I know sex is very taboo in Japan.
It is.
Japan.
And
well, I think it like that.
Is it more taboo in China?
You know, I think the thing about Japan is like it's sort of taboo in public, but like people do like really like weird fucked up shit and like have those like fantasies and stuff. If anyone watches Anthony Bourdain,
when
he had an excellent episode where he went to Japan. And he talked with, one of those artists who draws those like hentai, like anime cartoons with like tentacles and whatever. And it was kind of interesting. I don't know.
Okay, wow. Yeah, I mean,
sorry, get a little off track.
It's fine.
Here.
No, that's a good point. The reason I brought that up is because, we were talking about how the Sears Tower no longer has any offices there. I think they moved all their offices out by the late 90s, and it's a Willis Tower now. The reason I brought this up is because it's similar to how the Smurfit Stone building is now called the Crane Communications Building, because I believe that is where Crane's Chicago business is located now. Anyway, connecting this back to Amazon. Sears was essentially they actually were sort of in their time similar to Walmart. Essentially, they had basically wholesale prices, what they were selling everything at. They were essentially a wholesaler when they started out. As a matter of fact, I have a facsimile of the 1902 Sears catalog. I'm just going to read the cover of this because it's very wordy. Sears, Roebuck & Company, cheapest supply house on earth. Our trade reaches around the world. Capital and surplus over $2 million, which was a lot back then. The great price maker. The real value of this book is plainly shown in every price quotation. The price of the catalog incidentally, originally the price of each catalog was 50 cents. Eventually they just started selling them, giving them out for free. You just had to request one. Let's go to a random page in this book and see what they sell. Iron beds. Okay, Iron beds. Our $3.95 value. This is an impressive. These are honestly really ugly beds by today's standards. But
yeah.
Early.
That one's okay.
We're just skipping through some of this right now. Rugs, ladies' hats.
Oh, they sell hats.
They did sell ladies' hats,
Poppin' hats.
They sell everything like clothing and
clothing. You could buy cars from here briefly. Let me see if they have any in this catalog. I don't think they do, but we'll see.
That's pretty early to have cars.
Well, yeah, it is. I know they have buggies and stuff. Yeah, here they are. Yeah, they have they have wagons and stuff like horse-drawn shit. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they sell. They're selling harnesses, not the actual horses.
Man.
Razors, holy shit! These are some nice ass razors. Let me tell you, fucking straight razors. Okay, where's the guns? I know there's a gun section here. Here we go. Marlin repeating rifles. Okay, 1150 to 1350. Winchester. Oh, nice ass Winchesters right here. Holy shit!
There's more than one Winchester.
Winchester single shot rifles.
Oh yeah, it was a company. Not one.
Winchester model 1894. Shit.
Wow.
I mean, let me see if I can find an inflation calculator that goes back this far. There's one on the
$3.65 for a rifle.
Incidentally, $3.65. Look up inflation calculator 1902.
Oh, 1902.
1902, okay. Yeah, because there's one on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but it only goes back to 1913. Here we go. So $100 in 1902 has the purchasing power of about
$3,000,
almost $3,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. Yeah, you got the calculator. Let me flip to a different page. Let me see. Somebody name a product.
Pants.
Pants. Okay. Probably it's gonna be under
trousers.
Yeah. it's okay. It's gonna be under apparel. I think.
Probably trousers.
Yeah. I think typically listed everything under either clothing or apparel. So let me. They have like this giant index in the middle of the page. Apparel, or probably actually clothing. Let's see, clothing or men's clothing. I think men's. Okay, there we go. Men's clothing. 1120. This catalog, incidentally, is about 1,200 pages. Let's see, 1120. Department of Men's Custom Tailoring. Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, because they actually did sell full suits. I was thinking to see how much a full suit costs.
Some of those nice suits.
These are nice. Yeah, you could buy like white tie and tails from them actually.
Sharp looking suit models.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, very much. Hey, let's see. I'm just gonna see like what.
How much is like a standard day-to-day suit?
Okay, standard suit. It's like a standard like business suit, I guess, at the time. Okay, at the time, let's see, style 1. If I can find what the heck. Oh, I see what they're doing. Okay, they're selling it essentially. What they're doing is they're selling the types of fabric, and they would basically sell you. Okay, price for a suit, just a standard like 14-ounce worsted wool.
Are these DIY suits?
These are, I believe, custom. Like you would essentially send them your measurements, and they would send you a suit.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
this is like kind of like
cool.
oh, what's that website? Indochino, I believe is what it's called. It's like one of those websites like today. Like if you send them your measurements, they'll custom make you a suit.
Yeah.
$10. Actually, hold on.
$10.
$10 for a suit, for a 14-ounce black worsted wool suit. Let's see if we can find the most expensive one they would have sold.
$10.
In terms of fabric, let me see. Okay.
I wish I had a time machine.
Okay,
I'd buy all my
okay,
suits.
try this one. Buschendorf's imported German cloth, jet black, $20 for a full suit, and that's 3-piece, by the way.
Ooh.
$587
Whoa.
or $86.
That's
Oh,
like
yeah.
not. That's. I mean, that would be expensive for a suit today, but that's not like.
That's not terribly expensive.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure.
If you go to like Joseph Bank or Men's Warehouse, that's typically how
that's
much.
typical. That's about how much like a standard suit would cost.
Yeah,
them.
maybe a little on the higher end.
I mean,
for, like,
yeah, I
some
mean,
of
if
those
it's a high-end
mass
Yeah.
suit, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you were to go to like Brooks Brothers was still around at this time, and they would be like very like they at the time were not like as designer as they are now, but like they would have had like Ivy style suits at the time.
Ivy style. What's
Yeah,
that?
like I like East Coast, like Harvard, Yale, that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
pretty much. Anyway, so connecting that back to Amazon, we were going to have a brief discussion. How rich is too rich? Because if you think of somebody that has $100 billion, they're probably not going to spend all of that in a lifetime.
I think that's
No,
too rich.
he's
I
too
think that's
rich, yeah.
too much money.
Yeah.
I guess recently didn't they pass the $15 minimum?
For certain workers,
Right.
yes.
My issue
In
with
Chicago.
And I believe all their
National.
Amazon
Yeah.
warehouses.
Oh,
I believe.
yeah,
I'm
Amazon.
Not sure. I know it's for certain employees. I know
Whole
it's not
Foods.
for all.
I have a friend who works at Whole Foods, and he said that the $15 minimum wage is going in effect for Whole Foods
Yeah.
as well pretty soon. So
Interesting.
my issue with that is that the media spend it in a way saying that, oh, Jeff Bezos finally agreed. He's a good person. He realized that he just should pay his workers right. That no, it's that if you work at Amazon and you work long hours, you deserve a decent
yeah, work
wage.
at those warehouses. That's
Yeah,
hard
you
work.
deserve
Yeah,
to be
like,
in a union.
You know,
Being a part of a union
right.
is a right, and that's something that people have forgotten as
That's right,
Americans.
absolutely.
The average American doesn't know what a union is. They don't know.
They
what
don't
it's-
understand what it is.
or the
Yeah.
value of unions at
Yeah.
least.
You're right.
I used to work logistics at a department store. It was an overnight job, and I made $11.50 an hour. And basically, what my job entailed most nights, the department store I worked at also sold groceries. So most nights, I would arrive there at about 11:45. Most of the night crew went from 10:30 to 5, but we were groceries, so we would do 11:45 to 7. And I would basically get there and start basically unpacking basically cases of cereal onto the shelves. And this was like, we had to work, as one of my supervisors said, with a sense of urgency, because we basically had to get like at least 2 or 3, well, most nights it was 1 truck. Sometimes, especially during the holidays, it was like 2 or 3 trucks a night. We had to completely unpackage. We had to basically, first of all, get everything off the trucks. And that in itself took about an hour, because
Shit.
we had like, how many people? Between 15 and 20 people a night on like, like those like metal conveyor belts with like rollers on them?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we had like people lined up along that, like basically each person was responsible for a certain department. For example, we'd have somebody on electronics, chemicals, like laundry detergents and stuff. We would have somebody on like pet supplies, usually 2 people on pet supplies because there's a lot of it. Let's see, we had housewares, smaller furniture stuff. Furniture was usually brought in from the warehouse, but it's like on a separate thing. But well, actually, you know what? No, there was flat pack furniture, so there was like occasionally we'd have somebody working furniture that night. However, that like in itself took about like an hour to an hour and a half, and then we take like maybe a 15, 20 minute, or how long were the breaks? About a 15-minute break, and then we just start like because while people were doing that, they would have people basically rolling the pallets out to the specific aisles. Then for most of the rest of the night, pretty much actually all the rest of the night, unless you're on groceries, you would be spending about 4 to 5 hours just like as fast as you possibly could. Just like first, what you would do is before break, people would basically be rolling out the pallets and putting the specific merchandise next to where it would be on the shelf. For example, if you had like a row of, if you had a bunch of cat food in a box, you're basically putting it in front of the cat food section of that aisle. And then we would basically spend the next 4.5 to 5 hours just like racing to get everything unpacked before the store would open.
Damn.
It was pretty insane. Like it was. I honestly I only worked there for about a month and a half because I got my teaching job like right after that. But I really liked it. Like it was like mentally stimulating. It was great. It was a great workout. Like I lost more weight probably in that month and a half than I ever have. Because like it was just like you were pretty much.
So yeah, if you're looking to lose some weight, sign up right
Sign
away.
up for go to your local.
Become a laborer on a construction site.
Yeah,
like that's
absolutely, and
they're usually in pretty good shape.
They are, yeah. Go to your local department store, even if it's a chain, and ask if they have any overnight logistics positions, and they'll probably hook you up.
Logistics.
I mean, yeah, it was like my position was overnight. Yeah, essentially overnight logistics clerk, and I was basically doing that kind of stuff, like pretty much. Most nights I was on groceries. Occasionally they put me on the conveyor belts, but I was usually doing groceries because that was what I was like really good at. Like I could like get. There was a point they actually did a time study. Ideally, this is basically how fast you have to work. You have to take a box, cut it open, stock the shelf, put the remaining stock in the cart that was going to be sent by the back room folks for back stock, break down the box, and put it in the recycling area, all within 1 minute per box.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
They were doing time studies of us, and I remember one aisle I did the whole thing in like 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. It was,
Wow.
I believe it was in the pharmacy.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, I basically, like, you had to work like as fast as you possibly could, pretty much, just so like you could keep moving on. Because basically, once you finish an aisle, you would move to the next one, or whichever one was like the next one that people weren't working on. And typically, sometimes, like, you could stay, like, typically, when I was on that, I was work from 10:30 to 5. Once in a while, they'd let us stay to 7 if we weren't working fast enough. So there were occasionally days where I got like 9 hours, nights where I got like 9 hours in.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think I ever, like, because they said at that time, it was like late summer, early fall, they weren't approving overtime, which they were going to start doing by the holidays, but I wasn't working there at the time.
You guys should have unionized.
Give me a break. Anyway, yeah, I'm sure my supervisor would love to hear that. But anyway, I don't think like most weeks I worked about 35 hours there, 35 to 36. And I made like not too. I was living at home at the time, so I made like some pretty good money working there. So I think on average I made probably about $1,400 a month working there, which isn't terrible.
I guess this is kind of random, but the one thing I like about social democracies, if the U.S. ever gets there, is that if we become a welfare state, if like say you do get enough money paid to you per like, it has to do with the universal income.
But UBI?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you get like a certain amount like per month, that would be great. If I could use that, move out of my parents' place and just like have my own place.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I mean...
Well, the thing about that is, like, if there were to be a universal basic income, it wouldn't be enough money to, like,
not at all.
live comfortably. Like, you even if you're working class, you would still need to have a job.
You would need to have a job, correct.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
That would be essentially for, like, the truly destitute who can't work because of disability, essentially.
Yeah.
It would basically be Social Security for all, in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, do you know that Joe Rogan actually supports UBI?
No, I didn't know that.
He is very left libertarian. Like, he's for legal weed. He's for that. He's for a bunch of other stuff. He calls it. I've heard him say that he's a leftist, but not like the other leftists.
I've seen photos of him with like Ben Shapiro.
He's very well connected in that he will hang out with basically anybody, as long as he finds them interesting. He will interview and hang out with pretty much anybody.
Destroyed with logic and facts.
I don't. If you hang out with Ben Shapiro, you're a fucking asshole.
I mean, you're not wrong, but at the same time, like, I mean, I have friends that I wouldn't say they're alt-right, but they are decidedly conservative. Like I know people, like I'm like in with people that voted for Trump and stuff, and I'm like,
Really?
I know several people that voted for Trump.
I
I'm
don't.
not, like,
I
I'm
don't
not
think
close
there's
friends with
any.
them.
Yeah, I don't think I have any good friends that have voted for Trump.
Like I'm not like really like super close friends with them necessarily, but I've been friendly with them, and I tend to be cordial with them when I'm around them, just because
Yeah.
I consider them
Yeah,
good people.
yeah.
No, I mean, there are people that, like, during the primaries supported Bernie, but ended up voting Trump.
One of my cousins said that he was very much into Trump, but he told me that if Trump did not get the nomination, he would support Bernie Sanders if he
Yeah.
got it.
That's interesting.
But
Yeah,
I mean, the alt-right is the whole different animal. They're fascist.
They have fascist tendencies, I will say that. Whether or not they specifically agree with fascist ideologies, they are very... it depends really on the person and the particular part of the... If they're like identitarian, then I agree with you that they're very like... If they're like ethno-nationalist, for example, then that can lean towards fascist tendencies. If there's somebody, for example, like Milo Yiannopoulos, who... And I'm not defending him in any sense, but if he's...
I think he has AIDS.
Do you think
What?
so?
He let that slip. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. There is
Explain,
like
please.
some. Okay.
Look it up.
So there's
Yeah,
like
go
some
look it up,
screen-
feel free.
Yeah.
Okay, should we explain this to the viewers? We've kind
So-
of gone off the normal
Okay, Charlie,
course.
explain who Milo is. You can probably do better than I can.
He was senior editor of Breitbart.
I believe he was. Yeah, I don't know if he
They
still is
kicked him.
there.
I think
Yeah,
they
he
kicked him.
got
Yeah.
was kicked out.
Yeah.
He's very he's essentially one of the very
Controversial.
He's essentially one of the very few gay people on the right.
Yeah,
And
very rare. It's
Or
like,
very
it's-
few gay people who are public figures on
Yeah.
the right.
that's a good point. Yeah, there are like a lot of Kevin Republicans, for example, are
Yeah.
very are like pro gay, are pro LGBT right Republicans. He incidentally came to speak at my university. He came to speak at DePaul in 2016 and got shut down.
I remember seeing videos from that. That was
I don't want to show my cards on this necessarily, but I know several people who were counter protesters, one of whom got doxxed on 4chan. Yeah, like I know for a fact that one of the people there got
damn.
doxxed. Like I'm not even joking. Like one of the people there was literally doxxed by 4chan. Some of the people, like some of the more prominent people, like what's his name? D-Ray McKesson, I believe is his name. One of the people who got up on stage and took the mic from Milo got himself doxxed and like severely harassed on YouTube or on Twitter for a very long time. It was this thing, like if you mentioned a specific group of people, I'm not going to say the group just for the safety of the people that are in it as well as safety of others. If you mention a group, he would instantly block you, essentially.
Oh. Wait, so you found it?
So this is not a reliable.
Okay, let me explain what Julian just pulled up. This is from 4chan. This is from specifically Poll, which is essentially the political forum
The
there.
most cancerous board.
Do you want to?
the worst.
You know what? You can open that if you want. We can just.
Yeah,
You might have to look up a cached version, but go ahead.
We're not saying this is fact. This is
Okay. There's copy and paste the Instagram thing in there. Jesus. Okay.
This isn't this is just speculation.
This is
all
speculation.
pure
this is not
speculation.
We are
reliable.
neither. Okay, we are not specifically saying that he has AIDS. I want to confirm that, but this is potentially. Yeah, go ahead and open that up on Instagram. We can see what we have here. Okay, this is from Milo Yiannopoulos. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, we will post a link to this in the description of the video. But essentially, what
Or
this,
we might not. I don't know.
Yeah, we may
Should we be posting links to
we should.
4chan?
No, okay, not to Instagram. I meant not to 4chan.
Oh, okay.
To
Okay,
Instagram.
yeah. I guess we can post the Instagram.
We might.
link.
I'm not sure if we should yet because he may very well delete this. I will save.
I don't think he can delete this. I think this is our.
Oh no, I meant
archived.
the Instagram post.
Oh.
But can you go back to the Instagram post real quick? I can save the image itself actually.
Yeah.
Let me.
Let's
Yeah,
do
you
that.
can press Control Shift T. That'll open up the previous tab. Oh, that's fine. Also, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, let me. I can. I know like how to do this on Instagram. I can just like save the source image. Let me just do this really quick. Anyway, what we are seeing is a.
It doesn't look like there's any information.
There isn't. This could be a hoax, honestly.
Or it could be another medication.
It could very well be. What we're looking at is essentially a receipt from Milo Yiannopoulos. His address, I assume he's either his address or some other ID numbers blacked out, and it says, "Your insurance saves you $2,582.99." And his caption for it is, "AIDS is the worst," in all caps.
Yeah. I mean, he could be trolling.
I think he is.
I honestly,
think he is.
even if he actually had AIDS, I would not feel bad for him.
No.
You know,
He's such an asshole.
I wouldn't wish AIDS on anybody just because I know just how horrific of a disease that can be, and my
Yeah.
parents know people who died from that.
Right.
But oh whoops! I'm just trying to like save this
Doesn't
particular image
excuse
here.
he's a piece of shit. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong when you say that, but it's like, you know, God, I like because like I have to be very careful.
I don't.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I dislike him because he follows an ideology that's fascist. I don't have that much of a problem with someone who's conservative, but I mean,
Okay.
if I don't know, like someone like him who's alt-right, who embraces like super nationalistic policy and that is like fascist ideology.
Yeah, I know people who are fiercely against Milo to the point where Milo has posted, but I believe it was before his Twitter was taken down, posted pictures of them. They are incidentally DePaul students. I won't mention any of their identities, and they almost took it as a badge of pride in a sense.
Getting a mention from a public figure,
him.
like shout out.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, like that's one of those things.
Well, he's kind of faded, like Steve Bannon, out of.
To an extent, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you don't really hear about Milo that often, except for stuff like this.
I think he's like pretty like not as much in the public eye as he was maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
I agree.
Non-existent.
Yeah, especially because his social media presence has been greatly shrunk down. He may have a Gab account,
Banned him from
Twitter.
He's
banned from Twitter, banned from a bunch of other
stuff. So
he's
been Zuckerberg?
Was he banned from Facebook? He may have been.
Probably.
Yeah. But anyway, he was supposed to speak, I believe, at CPAC, the conservative conference, major one. And he was supposed to speak there, but he got essentially kicked out. It wasn't necessarily because he was gay. It was because some of the things he was saying, the mainline conservatives in, I believe, 2016 didn't want to associate with that.
No, like the alt-right rhetoric?
Yeah, alt-right, pretty much.
The fascist rhetoric.
Yeah, like they didn't want...
Well, Steve Bannon spoke there, didn't he?
Steve Bannon did speak there. Milo, I think, at that point was really just damaged goods to conservatism, so they didn't really want him anywhere near that.
Is American conservatism... It's... What's left of it isn't really... I mean, conservatism... I wouldn't consider American conservatism like... It's kind of like the Soviet Union. It's so evacuated of any meaning that...
I think that's kind of a strange parallel to draw, but I think you definitely have a point when you say that like what the party originally stood for and like the morals and all that's kind of just gone out the window.
A lot of that happened in the 1970s with the religious right, like people like Jerry Falwell, like pushing like strong, like, because the Republican Party really was not until the late 60s, early 70s, like a moral barometer for a lot of people. It was mainly just like a classical liberal party. It was about like laissez-faire economics. If you look at people like William Buckley, Milton Friedman, they essentially represented American conservatism in the post-war era.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't until really what kicked it off it wasn't even like Nixon to an extent, because Nixon was very environmentalist. He founded the EPA. Earth Day was started under his tenure as president. He was very much he like did a lot of like reforms for like college education and stuff, and like actually gave concessions to like Vietnam War protesters and stuff. However, really with Reagan is where it started to very much kick off into the Republican Party. It's really a neocon party that we know of today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, just think it, like, even connecting this back to Kavanaugh, like let's imagine in 1976, like when, let's say 75 when Ford was president. A man like that would not have been confirmed to the Supreme Court.
Really?
No, I really don't think so.
Probably not. I mean, I don't think like that he would have been nominated in the first place.
Yeah, that's what I should say, because until recently, like many Supreme Court decisions were unanimous. Like it wasn't like they weren't held up to the same scrutiny as they were today, and votes were typically not on party lines. I mean,
Clarence Thomas, that was a good example.
That was one of the first
controversial.
That was one of the very first really divisive ones. That was, I believe, in 1990-ish.
Yeah, somewhere around them.
Do you know that Scalia was confirmed with 98 senators?
No, I mean that doesn't shock me, but
yeah. I mean, like, somebody that's like very much a textualist, like arch conservative judge, I believe was 98. Let me see. Let me just look that up really quick. Scalia. Yeah, because like typically Supreme Court votes weren't done on party lines. Like I said, it was mainly because like did they think basically did they think they would be a good Supreme Court justice? Were they constitutionally knowable? And like, say what you will about a guy like Scalia, but he was essentially a like constitutional prodigy. Like, he was a genius as it related to like American history. He was pretty much a genius when it came to that.
Yeah.
Scalia's senators approved. Let me just this will pull it up.
You know, I think Trump, he's done a lot of bad shit.
Yeah.
But some of the worst shit he's done is just turn the Supreme Court into a political battleground too.
I think it really started to go downhill at when Sarah Palin was McCain's VP.
The Tea Party.
That was the first
Tea Party
sign that
Patriots.
the Republican Party was like.
Yeah, I mean,
but not even just the Republican Party. I mean, now, like, you know, the Democrats are threatening to impeach Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
I don't think it'll work.
No.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. Like, there is precedent for removing
There's a
judges.
lot running on November.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. And by the way, I just want to put this out there. Regardless of what your political opinion is, vote.
Yeah.
I don't care
Yeah.
if you're a left-winger, a right-winger, vote.
Yeah.
It is your civic duty and it is your responsibility to vote.
Especially for people our age, because, you know, our age demographic bracket is very underrepresented in
correct.
elections, unfortunately.
Yeah. The older you are, the higher, in general, the older you are, the higher the turnout rate is.
Yeah.
And if you look at statistics, like, the elderly, like, overwhelmingly vote conservative and Republican. So
Yeah.
I'm like I say, like, even if you are conservative, I don't care what your ideology is, you should be voting in every election that you can, because there's no reason not to.
I think, you know, I think that voting should be made legal, or it should be
A holiday.
well, one, it should be a holiday. Two, I think it should be the law that you have to vote.
Yeah.
I agree with
like in Australia.
In Australia, yeah.
Like they, you know, I don't think there's like a criminal penalty if you don't, but like
It's not criminal,
your,
no.
But yeah, you know, it's your civic responsibility as a citizen to vote, and you should definitely have the right to easy polling access and not have to wait in like 10-hour lines and be asked questions about identity and
Correct.
you know, like
I will say this
Voter
though, I
disenfranchisement.
personally don't think it should be a federal holiday, because that's going to really hurt the service industry. Because if you're a retail worker, you are going to be working on election day. Like, that's like
Yeah.
almost, because like, I mean, I had to work on Labor Day. I mean, when I was
Really?
when I worked at the department store, I did have to work on Labor
damn.
Day.
That's
But-
bullshit. That is fucking bullshit. That's not what it was. The people who the reason Labor Day exists is for like the protests in Chicago. Chicago's Union City. Like,
Yeah, Haymarket.
Yeah.
That's where the whole like labor movement essentially kicked off with a bang, literally.
You had anarchists and Marxists that died for
Yeah.
the labor cause.
And do you know that I believe it was Eisenhower that christened May 1st Loyalty Day officially?
loyalty day.
Loyalty Day. It's not a federal holiday, but he declared it as a holiday in like the early 50s.
I don't think I'm familiar with.
Let me Google Loyalty Day really quick.
Well, isn't May 1st May Day?
In most of the world, yes.
In the USSR, that was a big thing.
Yes. Yeah, like I just Googled Loyalty Day and let me just pull up, here we go.
For the record, I've never heard of this.
Okay, basically.
Maybe?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a neighbor who his father was a Maoist, and like
No, not Mayday. I've never heard of Loyalty Day.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay, I'll just read off. This is just a quick Wikipedia thing. Loyalty Day is observed on May 1st in the United States, set aside for the reaffirmation of loyalty to the United States and for the recognition of the heritage of American freedom. And I'll just read a quick blurb about the history. It was first observed during the first Red Scare in 1921, so a few years after the Bolshevik Revolution. Was originally called Americanization Day.
Oh.
And it was intended to replace May 1st celebration of the International Workers' Day, which, as you alluded to, Charlie, commemorates the Haymarket Affair of 1886. During the second Red Scare in the 1950s, post-World War II, it was recognized by the U.S. Congress April 27th, 1955, and made an official recurring holiday, not a federal holiday, on July 18th, 1958. Incidentally, Dwight Eisenhower proclaimed May 1st, 55, the first observance of Loyalty Day. And, this is interesting. Loyalty Day has been recognized with an official proclamation every year by every president since its inception in 1958.
And I've never fucking heard of it.
Yeah, most people haven't. It became kind of a thing in 2017 because Trump went out of his way to mention it, make kind of a public announcement of it. But yeah, like most, like I can guarantee probably 95% of Americans
Right.
have never heard of this.
That should be a thing, though. International Worker Day. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'm sure, like, I mean, that's kind of what May Day is held up to be in most of the rest of the world.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like that's kind of interesting.
Or just move Labor Day to that
Yeah, move Labor Day
to May 1st.
That could be interesting. Yeah, we are incidentally at about an hour and a half right now.
Okay.
Let's briefly touch on international news and then we can wrap this up, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just pull this up here. Okay. Okay, we're going to talk about cryptocurrency also. We're going to talk about how the London Block Exchange introduced a cryptocurrency based on the British pound. We can save that for, I guess, the next show. International news briefly. The Macedonia naming referendum. We'll talk about this briefly and then we'll call it a night. Julian?
So basically the deal is the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia has had naming controversies, and Greece, some people in Greece, namely politicians and people further on the right, are very against Macedonia, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, having the name Macedonia. And this has prevented them from joining NATO and potentially joining the European Union, and doing a lot of stuff like that. So finally, politicians in Macedonia and politicians in Greece came to an agreement where they would change the name to, I forget exactly what it was, but it was a reasonable compromise. And they held a referendum, I think last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, about whether this name change was going to go through. And it was overwhelmingly, I think, like, Macedonian name change referendum.
Why don't
Something
they
like North Macedonia or something along those lines.
Yeah, let's Google this.
Why don't they like the name Macedonia?
Well, it's controversial because people in Greece see Macedonia as being a part of Greek heritage and Greek nationalism.
I see.
All right, yeah, let's see what the Wikipedia article says. So 95% of people who voted in the Macedonia naming referendum voted yes.
Huh.
But the problem
It's also has
is
to do with
that,
NATO membership, correct?
yes, yeah, yeah, potentially. But the problem is that only 36% of people turned out to vote. So, like, honestly, and I don't blame them. Like, I would not take time out of my day to like vote on like whether like the U.S. should be like changed to some like other country name. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say that no one cares about it or it's not a big issue, because it is a big issue. It has a lot of there's a lot of possible geopolitical implications, and Moscow's against it, and that's a whole thing. But
I mean, one could argue that like basing the decision on this referendum could be sort of construed as tyranny of the minority. But then again, you don't necessarily like. You have to wonder, is that a representative sample of the Macedonian population?
I don't think it is. I mean, just that not enough people in the FYROM Macedonia, or former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, care, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And what would happen if they just do it? People voted for it.
The name would change, and then they might be able to join NATO and the UN, and Russia would be angry, and the U.S. and other Western European countries would be like, okay, yeah, that's
how
great.
would Russia retaliate?
If they would.
I don't know how Russia would retaliate per se. It might not be anything, but Russia is definitely against it, not because they have any really like cultural stake in it. It's more because they don't want NATO to become stronger. Have one more country, and Macedonia is not a very large country. I think the population total like 4 million.
Something like that. You can just click on Macedonia in that article and it'll probably take you to the...
Oh, oops.
Or you can just type in Macedonian population or something. What is it?
Yeah, it's 2 million.
Wow.
It's not a lot of people.
Not at all. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but yeah, any expansion to NATO, Russia's definitely would be very opposed to.
Yeah. Well then, oh yeah, and I understand the Prime Minister is committed to the name change.
Yeah, let's pull up this article.
Article is from Reuters. It is called "Macedonia Leader vows to press on with name change despite the referendum failure."
Skopje. They're not less than 50% turnout, so
Wow.
it's not validated.
Yep.
Yeah, it might go through anyways.
Would if like say 36% of people came out in November to vote, would it be valid?
Here, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it would legally be valid. Whether it was a valid representation, I think that's called into question. I will be surprised, honestly, if 36% of people show up.
Yeah,
Well,
that's low even for the U.S.
It is. No, for a midterm, that's like midterms are chronically very low turnout. Like
Not that low though.
not
like,
necessarily that low. Like maybe like 45%
Yeah.
turnout for a midterm. You know, what was turnout in 2016? It was something like I want to say it was like 50. It was over 50%. I know that.
2016 election turnout, U.S.
Something like that.
58. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, 58%.
Which for world standards is really low. That's
It is.
not good voter turnout
That's
at all.
really not at all.
It's sad.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like sad exclamation point, like Trump would say.
Sad.
Sad. Sad, you know. Anyway, yeah, like that's, yeah, I mean, 58%, like, I mean, even like the vote, I'm trying to remember what the turnout was. I used to know this because I taught this a couple years ago when I was doing my student teaching. The turnout for the election that indirectly, that essentially put Hitler into power, the turnout for that, I believe, was something like 70 to 75%.
Oh.
Damn.
Yeah, just like give sort of a historical perspective. Wow.
And the voter turnout is actually that high in certain other countries.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think
Wow.
Let me look up. I can look
Parts of
this really
Europe.
quickly. I'm curious about the turnout for Brexit. for the Brexit vote in 2016. I'm gonna look this up really quick.
Yeah, also Brexit, that we could talk about this next
Yeah.
episode, but there's definitely discussion about whether it's going to be a hard Brexit or a
Or
soft
soft, yeah.
Brexit.
Yes, to quote Theresa May, Brexit means Brexit. So,
My
I
cousin
don't
who
know.
moved to England said that it's going to be hard no matter. He's an economist.
Mm-hmm.
He said it's going to be hard no matter what because they already have issues trying to figure out. In England, a lot of food they get, like say tomatoes, is from Spain.
Yeah.
And it's like if you let that stay in storage for one day, it's going to rot.
Yeah.
That there's all these things that they're not considering that.
Incidentally, the turnout for Brexit was 72.2%.
Oh.
The margin of like approximately 1.3 million people voted to leave as opposed to remain. Like the difference rather was 1.3 million people.
Huh?
Yeah, but the percentage-wise, 51.9% said leave, 48.1% said remain.
All right, yeah, so definitely some discussion topics for next time.
Absolutely. Incidentally, do you guys want to wrap this up now, or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Incidentally, I have a quote for the day. This is going to be sort of a way that we either begin or close each episode. This is incidentally from Patrick Henry in his treatise on the Bill of Rights. This was delivered at the Virginia Constitutional Convention on the 14th of June, 1788. So I'm just going to read from here. This is essentially the last paragraph of this speech he made. Excuse me. A Bill of Rights may be summed up in a few words. What do they tell us? That our rights are reserved. Why not say so? Is it because it will consume too much paper? Gentlemen's reasoning against the Bill of Rights does not satisfy me. Without saying which has the right side, it remains doubtful. A Bill of Rights is a favorite thing with the Virginians and the people of the other states likewise. It may be their prejudice, but the government ought to suit their geniuses. Otherwise, its operation will be unhappy. A Bill of Rights, even if its necessity be doubtful, will exclude the possibility of dispute, and with great submission, I think the best way is to have no dispute. In the present Constitution, they are restrained from issuing general warrants to search suspected places, or seize persons not named, without evidence of commission of a fact, etc. There was certainly some celestial influence governing those who deliberated on that Constitution, for they have, with the most cautious and enlightened circumspection, guarded those indefeasible rights which ought to ever be held sacred. The offices of Congress may come upon you now fortified with all the terrors of paramount federal authority. Excisemen may come in multitudes, for the limitation of their numbers no man knows. They may, unless the general government be restrained by a Bill of Rights or some similar restriction, go into your cellars and rooms, and search, ransack, and measure everything you eat, drink, and wear. They ought to be restrained within proper bounds. With respect to the freedom of the press, I need say nothing, for it is hoped that the gentlemen who shall compose Congress will take care to infringe as little as possible the rights of human nature. This will result from their integrity. They should, from prudence, abstain from violating the rights of their constituents. They are not, however, expressly restrained. But whether they were intermeddle with that palladium of our liberties or not, I leave you to determine. And with that, that concludes the inaugural edition of Radio Sheridan. Thanks for joining us.